Okay, thanks, Kelly. Thanks for spending the time giving me this testimonial today. So we met, I think, in a network meeting a couple of years ago now. It was quite a while ago, wasn't it? I don't even
Well,
remember the network. But we have met online and started chatting about our businesses and how we could support each other. And from that came about you obviously sharing some challenges that you had, and I was able to help you with that. And that's how we met and how you started to work with me. So, can you just briefly introduce yourself and say what you do, and then obviously just give a little bit of information about what health challenges you were facing at the time that we met?
sure. So I set up my own business in 2021. I've had sort of an up and down sort of period facing different health challenges. So I suffer with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. Alongside that, obviously, with certain limitations, you can go through periods of depression and kind of struggle mentally to get by day to day. Setting up your own business, obviously that's not ideal. You want to be focused. So overcoming those challenges, I think when we first met on networking meetings, it was that kind of appeal, seeing that sort of passion to the change in well-being that you had made me sort of want to find out a bit more. And then obviously through getting to know you, it was a no-brainer, really.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Kelly. Thanks for sharing. And also I think sometimes, like you say, it's a challenge, isn't it, running your own business and sort of trying to juggle health and, setting up something new and giving lots of time and energy to something, especially if you have an existing condition.
Yeah.
So what was it that, I mean, I know we met and we'd obviously chatted about things. So what was it that made you actually want to work with someone to make the changes to your health, to work with me, for example?
I think for me, it was a case of I have tried a lot of the sort of standard self-help, I guess, that you kind of get like through Healthy Minds, for example, through the NHS and things like that. And I'd done various sort of things in the past. Um, but I guess the appeal for me was more having that kind of one-to-one
Yeah.
help or that sort of accountability on that level. I think all of the sort of courses and bits that I'd done in the past were great while you were there, but then ultimately it's okay, see you later, you've learned that. So
Yeah.
just having that kind of continued support and someone else to sort of bounce ideas off, I guess, and see, is this sort of the right attitude, or is this the best course of action for me for my situation? Obviously we're all different.
Yeah.
And again, I think it was just as we talked and I'd sort of run through the problems I was having, it was just sort of a growing confidence that actually I think this could be different to that in the past. Um,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, it's your health, isn't it? So you want to try everything and give it all a go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you're so right. There is the off the peg type of services and support that you can get and that are great at the time. But and might move you forward a certain way, a certain part of where you want to be. But sometimes that then when that support stops, it's like, well, okay, what do I do? So working with you in a bespoke way to help you with your specific needs was really, that's what I do, and that's what's where the results sit, isn't it? Because it's all about you and what's best for you. So that's great that you enjoyed that experience of working that way as well. Fantastic. So what changes have happened as a result of working with me?
Uh, well, without going into too much detail, obviously, I've had a lot of ups and downs with personal circumstances as well. So working with you has been fantastic, and I think the timing of it was pretty much ideal for me because I think I was at the height of what would ordinarily be the peak of my stress levels. So being able to sort of work with yourself and get healthier habits and working on sort of boosting my confidence, and the fact that that was all coming together, um, even with things like the daily movements, it's not so much physical exercise because obviously with fibro that doesn't work in your benefit, that's damaging. But being able to find compromises and certain movements and things that would benefit me physically without exhausting me because of my condition, and finding that kind of happy medium, um that I think was where I was at and what I needed. And as I say, the timing of it all just sort of fit perfectly, really. I think that's what I gained the
Yeah.
most from it.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Kelly. It's great feedback. And I think timing is everything, isn't it? Because you can be maybe I think just aware of something but not ready to make the changes. And I think if you obviously you've worked on your health over the years, haven't you, and got to a point where you thought, right, something else needs to happen, something else needs to change, and you value your health, which is fantastic. So you were prepared to invest some time and energy and in getting some help and support with it. So the timing was obviously right for you. So normally you would have with the you've had a whole host of things to deal with this year. We're
Yeah.
not going to go into detail, but you've had, you know, big changes happening in your life, haven't you, really, which would have unsettled anybody. So with your condition, how would you say that that has been managed?
I think the only way I could describe it would be to say that I had been living with and sort of trying to manage as best I could my condition for over 13 years prior to us meeting. It's been a long time, obviously. It's not a case of, you know, it's a sudden diagnosis. I've just found out. It's been a long time. It's been managed multiple different ways. Some ways helped a little bit, but none were what I would call effective. Starting with yourself was sort of my something has got to give, something's got to, you know, make a difference. And, you know, I need to find some way that I can have sort of a better quality of life, I guess, and be at 100% for my business. I want to make that work. I'm a single mum, so, you know, wanting to do that for my son and achieve certain goals and things like that. And ultimately, if I wasn't going to sort of get to a point in my health where I could manage things better long term, not just better on some days, that wasn't going to happen. So there was a particular focus and drive. But yeah, being able to sort of get that consistent outcome and sort of have coping strategies, I guess, to manage that better. And definitely, you know, dealing with personal challenges and bereavements through the last sort of 6 months. I know that in previous years I've had bad weeks, bad months. The sort of worst of my condition would be that you'd be effectively bedbound. So a lot of things were sort of off the cards. And in the last 2 months, I would say, I've been able to push that a little bit further in regards to, you know, taking walks, been able to go a bit further than I perhaps had the confidence to before. I was always too nervous. Been able to do certain things at home. In the last couple of weeks, I've bought my own house, as you know, and moved house. So I've had decorating and bits like that to do, and I've been able to actually do more of it without having this great big relapse fear and consequence afterwards. I've been able to sort of keep everything going and achieve more, basically. So obviously that helps them with the confidence, and it all just goes round in a circle.
Absolutely, that's awesome. And I haven't really spoken to you really since you've moved into your new home. So I know some of the physical aspects of moving and just sort of owning a home, you know, all the sort of basic things can be a challenge with a condition like fibromyalgia. So it's amazing to hear you confident, you're feeling well enough and fit enough and strong enough to do the decorating and, you know, settle into your new home. That is fantastic. So that is amazing. So we started working together really back in March, didn't we, this year? Yeah, so we started working together then, and I know you were very dedicated to sort of making those changes early on. So you committed to working with me for that initially 90 days. I know we kept in touch about, you know, I'm here to support you ongoing, but it's fantastic that you have still embedded those things now. So you're using things every day to help you stay well and to increase your confidence and well-being. So it's kudos to you, Kelly, for doing that and sticking with it, because it's now become sort of part of a habit for you in terms of so it sounds, how you're dealing with your health, how you're seeing your health. So well done.
And I still have a lot of
So
support from family, obviously, but yeah, it has made a massive difference for me, confidence and health wise, definitely.
that's brilliant. So what has been the best outcome from our working together, would you say?
I think ultimately the best thing that I've gained from it, and I actually only noticed after the fact, it wasn't something I noticed sort of gradually happening.
Yeah.
Was the sort of the growth in resilience, the being able to handle situations now better than I think I have in quite some time, just purely through being in a better place in my own mind. It is a confidence thing. It is having that bit of extra confidence, but it's also knowing that, you know, it's okay to not be okay sometimes, and sort of giving yourself that permission and being a bit sort of kinder. I know when we first met, my sort of go-to phrase was, I am my own worst critic. I put a lot of pressure on myself to do things, even perhaps if it's not the best thing to do with my condition. So yeah, sort of ironing out all of those sort of negative thoughts and beliefs associated with having a condition, I think, and being able to look at it more positively and, you know, frame the way that we talk to ourselves in a nicer way. So that's definitely made me more resilient. And honestly, I don't think I'd been able to cope with as much as I have coped with in the last 6 months had I not gained that kind of growth in mindset and resilience to get through it all. So yeah, big change.
That's absolutely a massive change. I mean, and I think, thank you for sharing that, because I think people who may be listening to this could probably, I can certainly relate to what you're saying in terms of, like, you know, the critic that we have. I think we all sort of have a little bit of that, and learning to be kind to oneself definitely does build confidence and resilience. And celebrating, you know, when you're doing something right rather than criticizing yourself, actually builds that confidence and makes you realize how capable you are, because actually, you know, you are phenomenally capable. And the messages that we tell ourselves become true, don't we? So if you can flip that and absolutely, you know, find some love for yourself and change that language, that dialogue, then it does make a big impact. And of course, resilience, running a business, I mean, you need that in
Yeah,
spades, don't you? Because you're going to
definitely.
get those peaks and troughs, you're going to get those challenging times in business as well as in life in general. So having the feeling that you're feeling stronger and more resilient is just, it's just tremendous. So I'm so happy, I'm so glad that you're still feeling that, and that's a fantastic outcome. So
Possibly.
thank you for sharing that. So my final question is, what impact has it had on your, maybe not a final question actually, what impact has it had on your business, sort of this new resilience that you have and this confidence?
I think it's a knock-on effect. I think I very quickly noticed that the more confident I was feeling in myself, the more productive I was becoming. That, you know, the better I was managing my condition, the symptoms, obviously fibros, widespread pain. So the better I was feeling both physically and mentally, the more driven I was, the more, as I say, productive I was within my business. And even silly things like you know, dealing with difficult circumstances. That I recall an incident where I had a bit of a scare. I had a phone call that was a bit concerning, business related, from a client that was a problem with some work, and actually it wasn't an issue. It was a really simple issue to fix. There was no big problem, but I know that a lot of the time in the past, I think I reacted to negative news, or, you know, negative situations, as almost as if I was being confronted, rather than there is just an issue that needs to be resolved. It wasn't like problem solving.
Yeah.
I took it a bit too personal sometimes. But actually within sort of 10 minutes of this problem occurring, it was resolved and it was dealt with, and I felt great. I didn't feel sort of that nervous, anxious bubbling that I'm familiar with from before. It was just a case of, okay, there's this issue, we're gonna do this and this, it'll be resolved and we'll sort it out. And it's just really refreshing. Obviously at the time I didn't notice that was how I was thinking, but because of all the work
Yeah.
I'm doing, it's led to sort of those scenarios come up now, and it's a totally different response, which is a positive response. It's much more beneficial business wise as well. So definitely resilience, I think, is the biggest impact and the biggest learning curve for me.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you, Kelly, for sharing that. And I think it's one of those things, isn't it? When you can personally remove yourself, it's because you've worked on you, and
Yeah,
you're sort of seeing things differently.
yeah,
So being able to have that confidence to say, well, I know this isn't about me, it's actually just an issue that needs to be solved, is a complete turnaround in your thinking, isn't it? And it must feel so much easier, you know, having that sort of different way of seeing things and thinking about things and approaching things. You know, just must feel a bit easier. Sounds like life generally has become easier for you from a physical perspective, as well as, you know, from a mental and emotional perspective. So
definitely.
despite the challenges you
Yeah, I think the I said it to my mum actually last week. I was having a conversation with my parents, and it's definitely a lighter kind of feeling. Don't feel
Yeah,
bogged down. Don't feel like everything is just this major problem, another issue I've got to deal with. No, it's not. It's okay. There's a problem to be resolved, and we'll get to it. Yeah,
absolutely brilliant. And you found the solutions. I helped you, but you found the solutions. That's what it's about, isn't it? That you find the solutions that are right for you so that you can really embed them into your life and make that difference.
yeah.
So that is fantastic, Kelly. I do have one last little question. Sorry. What would you say to somebody who is sort of feeling stuck with their health? And maybe is in a similar position to you, a business owner, and is feeling really stuck and it's impacting on their personal life and their business life. What would you advise for them?
I would probably say before meeting yourself and working with yourself, I was at a point where I was very, very much convinced I have tried everything. There is nothing left that I've not tried, whether it's medication and doctors and all the rest of it, whether it's alternative and herbal and diet and everything else. I was very much at a point where I was just convinced, this is my life now. This is how it's always going to be. It wasn't until taking that step and committing to, okay, I'm gonna put everything into trying to make this work, and I'm really going to sort of hone in on what's advised and what's recommended and pay attention to my own body's reactions to the things that I'm changing in my diet or the things I'm doing movement wise, and listening to myself really. That I realized I hadn't tried everything. I just sort of put up a mental block. So yeah, I think I would probably be more inclined to tell people, if you feel like you've got to that point and there's nothing left to try, stick with it. Give the health coaching a shot. And I think because it's more tailored to the individual, it's not just generic advice, which is what you tend to get in a lot of other places through my experience. It's different. It's indescribably different. It's very much more personalized, very much more to your individual abilities and needs, and I think that just has a more effective outcome just all round.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you for spending the time and sharing your experiences. I'm sure it's going to help somebody who's listening to this.
Yeah.
And I think, the impact that this way of working has on many people is that it's body, mind, and spirit working together. So it's not just treating one part of you, it's treating the whole of you. And that is very much holistic health coaching. And that is what is bespoke, that is what is tailored to you. And I'm so privileged to have worked with you and to see the results. I think they're amazing. And I just think you're amazing because you've dedicated that time, that energy, that focus to improving things for yourself. And you know the value of your health. You understand that because
Yeah.
you've been in a place where health has been difficult for you. You've had ill health. And it's so precious. And I just congratulate you for everything you've done. And it's my pleasure to still be in touch with you. And I'm here to help and support you on the rest of your journey, wherever that's going to take you. So thank you so much for today, and for sharing your story. It's awesome.
No problem, and thank you for all the advice and support. I couldn't have done it without your support as well, so likewise I appreciate your time, and definitely think there will be opportunities in the future. There's other goals to reach, so yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much, Kelly. Wish you the rest of the week full of happiness and good health.
Thank you
Take
too.
care.